and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live on the Lynch Mafia YouTube channel, and we're bringing to the people, a brand new podcast featuring myself, Sir Jingle, Lynch Mafia #1, with my co-host, Lynch Mafia #2, CJ, and we have a guest as well who's going to be a part of the podcast. It's D-Nick, ladies and gentlemen. D-Nick's going to be joining us. And fellas, we have a lot to talk about. As you can see in the title, this is the new series. The Steel City Boys are here, and we're here to talk early NFL predictions. We're here to talk some Steelers. We're going to talk some fantasy football, and I'm going to give it over to my co-hosts here. And actually, we're all just the hosts. There's no co-hosts here. We're all equal. We're all on the same playing field. And bear with us as we're going to try to bring you guys something weekly, just something fun. We're just doing this casually, and we're going to talk sports, something we all love to do. And we love the Steelers. We're going to bring some other topics into it, primarily going to be revolving around football. But CJ, the man, the myth, the legend, the man behind the Lynch Mafia YouTube channel, you want to take it away, sir, and then we can go to D-Nick?
Yeah, just a few things here. Say thanks for everybody tuning in. It's going to be a new series. We're going to try to do this around 8:30 every Sunday if possible. Like and subscribe. Please, get out and hit it. And we're thinking if we get the people like this and receive, well, we're thinking maybe doing this in person live too. So this is just a test online here to do it. But leave a comment, like, subscribe, and thanks for tuning in. We got a lot to talk about. D-Nick, my friend, you're up next.
D-Nick.
Well, doing yeah, basically those guys nailed it on the head. Just getting on like we do normally, BS about Steelers football and football in general. Might as well do it to an audience. Hopefully we get an audience. Something we just enjoy doing, and what the hell, just not taking it too seriously. I'll try to keep episodes around a half hour. That's kind of a good starting point.
Like I said too, we're just starting out here. Like I said, if we keep it going, then we'll bring it to the people live. So hopefully we can take off this. We can only do this with you guys' support. So let's get into it.
Amen. And just a little disclaimer too, none of us claim to be true professionals, but we all are diehard Steelers fans. We love football. We do some football gaming as well. We run competitive leagues here. We have doing it for about 10 years, along with fantasy football. So, we definitely have our good different levels of football, what we do. But
I would say we know more than the average fan. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I would
maybe.
say that our knowledge is above the average fan level.
I would agree.
Not to be ignorant or arrogant, but
I agree.
Agreed.
What do you guys want to get into first?
So first off, I'd like to say,
we got fantasy, we got whatever.
Take it away, CJ.
No, I just think first for our first episode, we should give a little introduction of how our Steelers fanhood began. Or like again, you remember as your first Steelers game, what really made you a fan. If you guys want, I think that'd be a good topic. I can start off with it first.
Yeah.
For me personally, the game I remember, my very first game got me into Steelers is the Super Bowl with the Cardinals, and I'll never forget when Larry Fitzgerald took the kickback to get the Cardinals up. I was really heartbroken, and I never seen whenever Ben came down the game-winning drive. I knew I was a Steelers fan for the rest of my life. That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen as a Steelers fan, and my favorite player of all time is Ben Roethlisberger too, so that got me into the Steelers as well.
Nice.
2008 Super Bowl for me.
Yeah, I mean, we're all around the same age. Obviously, a little bit. There's a 3-year gap from me to Jingle 1, and I think another 3-year gap from me to Jingle 2. So, and we both, I think, as CJ was saying, I think he's catching, just was conscious enough to remember that Super Bowl, and I think that, obviously growing up and them being a relevant team every year, obviously growing up in an environment where Steelers fans everywhere, that contributed to me being a Steelers fan. And I really hadn't went to too many games when I was a kid. I really, in my adulthood, have started to go a lot more. I've been, I think, 3 or 4 Steelers games now. One actually not at Akershire, One actually was in First Energy in Cleveland
Ooh,
with
yeah.
Jingle One,
Heck yeah.
Sir Jingles. That was a hell of a day. That was a 21-21 tie.
What a
First
day.
game, I think of the first game of the 18-19 season, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think
Week
you're right.
one.
Tyrod Taylor was a starter.
Tyrod Taylor was the starter. Yep, it was 18-19 because of Baker. Baker was not yet the starter for Cleveland. But
Yep.
no, just countless memories over the years. The Super Bowls, them losing in 2010 really hit me the hardest. How I knew I was a Steelers fan for life. Them losing to Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl was just heart crushing. I remember I cried for like 2 days over that. Me being a little kid, just not necessarily knowing the true nature of sports. I cried for like 2 days over that stupid game. But my favorite Steeler of all time, Heath Miller, for sure. Heath Miller's
Nice
Okay.
pick.
easily my favorite Steeler. Heath Miller, and then I'd say a very close second would probably go to probably James Ferrier. I would say those two.
Good pick.
Those both probably not very popular answers, but they're both my very favorite Steelers out there for sure. And Heath Miller, I think one of the most underrated tight ends of all time. I think just that dude was just Mr. Consistency. He threw a mean block when you needed it. He was like a sixth lineman out there,
Heath.
and the good old infamous Heath that will never be repeated. They're trying with Muth,
It's not the same though.
not the same. But yeah, that's kind of like my Steelers fandom. I know it's not a very exciting answer, but I just was born into the black and gold country, Southwest PA, born and raised, and I bleed black and gold. That's it.
Heck yeah.
Heath Miller definitely very underrated tight end. He definitely deserves more credit than he has gotten over the years. On to you,
Oh,
Jingle One.
absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I guess I'm dating myself a little bit here. I also, all of us, we grew up in the Southwest PA area, and I think for me, it was probably, I'm dating myself a little bit. It was the 99-2000 season, and for whatever reason, one of my first recollections of the Steelers was when they were playing the Baltimore Ravens, and it was kind of a dreary day. And I believe this is the year that the Ravens had that unstoppable one. I mean, they were just incredible in 2000. They ended up winning the Super Bowl. But I just remember that game. I remember it being really physical. And this is before the Steelers Ravens rivalry really took off in the mid to late 2000s. That was kind of my first experience and encounter as a Steelers fan. And growing up in around Southwest PA, it's just kind of I think as D Nick might have alluded to, you're just kind of born into it because everybody around you and your family is mostly Steeler fans. I mean, you have a few that aren't, but it's just something that's you're kind of born into. And I took a liking to the Steelers, and I do credit that a lot too to Coach Cowher. Coach Cowher was a Pittsburgh man, Pittsburgh native, and I think he instilled that team. Even though he had his flaws in the playoffs and things, he ended up getting the Super Bowl. He was a hard-nosed coach, and I think my family, I was kind of raised like that, and Pittsburgh has kind of a blue-collar mentality. It's a blue-collar town, and my grandfather retired from the steel mill in Pittsburgh, so I kind of like that attitude that the Steelers had, especially when Bill Cowher was the coach, and so that's kind of where it started for me. But my favorite Steeler of all time is James Harrison. He is my favorite Steeler of all time. My top
Always
three,
been.
though, is James. I like Debo's one. Um, the Bus is two. Jerome Bettis, all-time great, and Hines Ward's my number three, which Hines Ward not being in the Hall of Fame is a travesty. I'm sorry,
I
but that
concur.
man needs in the
I
Hall of
concur
Fame.
too.
I
We're
know he
bi-
didn't have
we're
some
biased, but
stats.
I
Yeah, we're
concur.
biased.
I think he's the best complete. No, this is a little bit of an over, you know, can be taken the wrong way statement. I think he's the most complete receiver of all time. I think he was very, very
I
good
agree.
receiver, what a receiver needed to be good at. But you see all these receivers nowadays, and we're going to be talking about receivers here in a little bit when we talk about
Uh-oh.
Steelers.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, Brandon Ayuk. But anyhow, I
Doink.
think Hines Ward was willing to. I think the fact that he was such a selfless player and he was just willing to throw the meanest of blocks.
Yep,
I just like he was just the best blocking receiver of all time. I don't think you
he
can
was.
dispute that.
Mm-mm.
And he was just the most complete. I think that from a team perspective and how good he did for as many years as he did, two-time Super Bowl champion. Um, I just think that yeah, like you said, I think it's a travesty that he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Honorable mention for me too, just to wrap up my little piece. Troy Polamalu, absolute all-time great.
Yeah,
I
of
really
course.
respect what he did on the field and off the field and how he carried himself. But guys like Hines and Troy and the Bus and James, they understood what it meant to be a Steeler. And something we'll talk about here, in the next couple weeks. But I think, you know, I think Tomlin is a very good coach. I think he's very solid, but I think that's something they've lacked a little bit, is that toughness and that blue collar mentality. They've forgotten that a little bit. Now, I don't want to get too deep into it. I think the NFL has shifted, obviously. It's a different game now, but I think that's how my fandom started. It started with Coach Cowher on the way down, obviously from the Rooneys down to Cowher. I think it was evident on those teams, especially in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, then the late 2000s. That was the best era for me being a Steelers fan. But
Yeah, I mean, we're let us just say too, and we're not these ignorant ass Steelers fans that are going to sit here and say, like we're just not going to be ignorant of the fact we're very fortunate to be
yeah,
fans, to be born to be fans of this historic club. It's just, obviously a lot of situations you're born into who you support. Southwest PA boys, born and raised, we're born into it. Um, three coaches in some 60 years.
it's incredible.
Um, you know, countless and countless and countless Hall of Famers. Uh, we're not going to sit here and act like we're not fortunate to be Pittsburgh Steelers fans. This team has had a great history. We could
Yep.
go on all day about the historic players, um, Hall of Famers, and not even. Uh, but no, like you said, the NFL in general has changed, and therefore the Steelers also have to try to change their mold to fit with it.
Yep.
We can talk about, look at, Kevin Colbert and how, set in his ways he was, and then Omar Khan comes in and changes everything on its head. The Steelers are
Yep.
actually aggressive in player acquisition. I mean, who would ever
Mhm.
thought the Steelers would ever be aggressive in player acquisition?
Yep.
It's not something that they usually did. They drafted a guy. They believed in that guy until the very last snap of football he played for the team.
Yep.
Uh, Now you see a more modern approach, which we all love.
Yep.
You have to adapt with the times. The Steelers are a little slow to it, but they're getting there. And I guess that kind of transitions us into our
Yeah, Deanick, you want to
kind of
transition
Steelers.
us into our
So
first point?
yeah, so I just gonna anything else, CJ, before I just found that to be a good transition into
No, that's a good point
talking
you made. You guys
training.
made about your three favorite players there of all time. Obviously, I only had one, so got to name the rest of mine. My number one's Ben, like I said. Then number two is James Harrison, Debo. And then number
Heck yeah.
three, I think, is the most underrated offensive lineman of all time and doesn't get enough credit, is Marquise Pouncey.
Oh,
Number
good
three,
one.
he really
That's interesting.
revolutionized the center position of how he could pull and do everything he wanted out of a center. I think he's very underappreciated as well. Just like Heath Miller as a tight end, I think Pouncey's underrated as a center as well.
That's a good point. Townsend
And
was great.
I gave two just to round out my top three, and this is going to be another interesting one, fellas. Fast Willie, number three
Ooh,
for
Willie
me.
Parker.
Yep, Fast Willie for me. I have a little out of the box answers, and I promise I'm not doing that just to be
I
different.
like Willie.
I just have out of the box answers when it comes to my favorite Steelers.
Does he still have the longest Super Bowl run of all time? I believe he does.
I believe it is too. Yeah,
That was I remember that game vividly. That was a great day when we defeated Seattle in Super Bowl 40. I remember that vividly, vividly, vividly. Good times. And the lead up to that in that season, that Colts game, my heart was in shambles that game. I was so
uh,
worried. One of
Ben
the greatest
saved the
games
Super
I've ever
Bowl.
watched.
Ben saved the run.
Shoestring tackle.
Shoestring tackle.
Yep.
Very uncharacteristic of the Buffs to do that, but
Oh man.
that's the conversation for another day.
Yep.
But anything else to add, gentlemen, before we transition into training
Yeah, I'd
camp?
just
Nope.
like to say I wanted to give that segment to introduce everybody and our background and everything. So
Yeah,
let's
no, it was good. It was
th-
good. I enjoyed that a lot. I didn't know you
Yeah,
were
me
going to
too.
do that, but I enjoyed it.
Yep. Good
yep.
job, guys.
Yeah, but yeah, let's transition into
Let's do it.
training
Alrighty,
camp. I
so
mean,
first up, I'm thinking here on the show, we think about, we're going to give our thoughts about the Steelers' off season so far, then we're going to get into the news, the big news. So far, gentlemen, I want to ask your thoughts about the Steelers' draft and what you thought of their free agency. Either one of you can go first, and I'll finish up here after you two go.
and I think giving it out of 10 rating is appropriate too to see where we're all at.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll start. I mean,
Go
I'll
ahead.
be quick with it. Um, Free agency, I thought I'll give them an 8.1. I thought Patrick Queen acquisition was incredible. Taking him from a divisional rival, I mean, just pure and sweet, incredible player, young player. You're not committed to him for too long. I think that was an incredible signing. I think the Russell Wilson on 1.2 million, easy. I mean, it's an incredible signing. The only problem I have with it is that commitment after this year. So if he goes out and has an awesome year, what are you gonna do? I think getting rid of Kenny Pickett lifted a curse off the franchise. Incredible. Um, I think that lots of other hole filling signings I liked a lot. I really did. I think that Cordell Patterson with this new rules and running back depth, I think was an incredible depth signing. I think Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, I think those guys, NFL type veteran, Quez Watkins type receivers, I don't think they set the world on fire. I think that they're solid ass signings. I think that they're great for the depth perception, great for the depth of the team. I think the Steelers have really focused on depth the last couple years,
I agree.
which is incredible because you can never have too much depth on a football team. I think the trading away Deontay Johnson was another cancer lifted from the football team. I think that even though they only got a sixth and a seventh round pick for him, which I thought was a little bit light of a return, and Dante Jackson, who the Panthers were going to cut, I thought that was a little bit light of a return. But anyhow, he's gone, so I really don't care. Um, Other than that, I think there wasn't any really notable departures. Levi Wallace, I guess you could call him a decently notable departure. He was a starter. Um, Johnson, as I said, Pickett, as I said. Um, I can't really think of any other more notable departures, really. Um, that's about it, to be honest. Presley Harvin, if you want to call him a notable departure. Um, I
Weak.
thought, yeah, I mean, and then quickly, I think overall their offseason, I'll give it 8.1. Free agency, I'll give like and I'm not doing math to average, but free agency, I'll give like a mid seven, probably like a 7.5. Didn't let the light the world on fire. I thought they got insane player for their value. Um, and then for the draft, I'll give their draft. I mean, a 9, north of a 9, probably a 9.2. Um, yeah, I mean it's self-explanatory. They hit their number 1 and 2 needs in the first 2 rounds. Drafted a super solid receiver in Roman Wilson, round 3. And drafted a guy who was graded late first round, early second round by all the big draft analysts out there, and Peyton Wilson in the third round. I think Mason McCormick's a good, tough, strong interior guard that they can use as a swing guard. Depth. It's just another key word: depth, depth, depth.
Yep.
I think their draft was incredible. Hit all their big needs. I mean, I think that's really all I need to say. I mean, it's just they just hit all their needs on the head. I think
Yep.
the Steelers' weakness was linebacker or defense for so many years, and now they have two talismans in there that can really do a job.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I think this team, to put it lightly, I think this team is in from top to bottom, 1 to 53. I think is the best that this team has been since their last Super Bowl appearance from 1 to 53. That might be a little bit of a hot take, but
So, Deanick, my question
Okay.
for you is though, uh, let's go in that draft a little bit. After the whole draft, what they did, what do you think is the best pick they made?
the best pick they made for the value, it's tough. I would say probably Peyton Wilson at wherever they took him 90 something. I can't
Yes.
remember off the
Yeah.
top of my head. 93, I think maybe it was. And then Frazier at 51 or whatever it was. I think those are the two best picks because of the player they got at the pick. I think that Frazier is easily a plug and start center, easily.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
And I think that Peyton Wilson. I think that if it weren't for injuries, a bad injury history, he would have been a first round pick. So
Definitely a steal.
I think that I'll go a combined answer on that one. I'll say Frazier and Wilson.
Okay. That's Deanick's breakdown of the draft so far and who he thinks the best on the Jingle One there. With free agency draft, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this one quick.
Same here.
I'll give my ratings after I talk about it. But free agency, I thought the Steelers did really well. I love the Patrick Queen signing. I think that was probably the biggest. Obviously, we talked about depth. That's something that D-Neck stressed, and I think Colin's done a really good job with his depth. And I think Patrick Queen he has potential. He's only 24 years old, I believe, maybe turning 25 this year. I think he has potential to be an absolute superstar for us on defense. I really do think he can be really, really good for us. Um, kind of looking at their roster right now, I think Keanu Benton has the potential to have a really good year, like how he was last year. Other additions though, Dante Jackson, he's a good addition. I think he can be an upgrade over Levi Wallace. I do. He's got really good speed. He's on a little bit on the older side, but he's still still a valued player. Corner is still a little bit of a concern for him. I'm not gonna lie. I actually do like the Cam Sutton pickup. I know he is suspended for I think maybe 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere like that. But I think Sutton in the slot, 8 weeks. Yeah. So they're gonna miss him. They're gonna need Corey Trice to step up. So they're a little thin, but I think we're gonna be okay at corner. Look at the Steelers' history, especially under Mike Tomlin. We've really never had. We have JPJ as our number one. He's solidified number one. We've never really had a great cornerback room. We've always had, Ike Taylor comes to mind. He was always a solid corner. I think JPJ can be really good, but I like the roster. And then quickly talking about the draft, it was a pretty. I love the trenches. You can never go wrong building the trenches. I think Fautanu, he was the best pick. I think Zach Frazier is a close second, just because, as I agree with D-Nick, he's a plug-and-play center. But Fautanu, a lot of people had him inside their top 10. So I heard some teams even had him in the top, 6. And we got him at pick 20, I believe. I mean, so you can't beat that. And obviously, last but not least, just kind of wrap up, and I'll give my scores. Quarterback Kenny Pickett had to go. As a Pitt Panthers fan, it hurts me to say that, but Pickett was complete garbage, dog water, horrible. Had to go. He's going to be out of the league in 2 years, and it's as simple as that. The Steelers should have never got him. I think it was a lazy pick by Kevin Colbert. They did the lazy pick. They go with the guy that they had in their backyard without really even looking into him. He really didn't have much of a ceiling. But I like the quarterback upgrade. Do I think we have the quarterback of the future on our roster right now? I do not. But I think our room is much improved. The Wilson deal had too much sense, and both guys. I think Russell Wilson, he gets crapped on. He had a pretty good year last year. He can have success with the Steelers. Justin Fields potentially could be our long-term answer. I like the moves. Draft, I'm going to give a 9.5. I love the Steelers draft. And for free agency in the offseason, I'm going to give them an 8.
Okay.
Pretty solid grades. I just want to put it out there, just a random fact that I just found out the other day. Russell Wilson had a better touchdown to interception ratio than Jalen Hurts last year. He had 26 touchdowns to 8 picks, and Hurts had 23 to 15. Just as a quick fact to
Wow.
you, gentlemen. And Russell Wilson had, I think, as many touchdowns, or if not more passing touchdowns than the MVP.
He
So,
had more. Yes, he had more. I think
so
Lamar had 24 last year, and what do you say? Wilson had 26 or 28 or something like that.
he had 26. He had 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for the Denver Broncos,
Yeah.
and he did not play the last 2 or 3 games of the season for them. So,
Yep. Definite
on a
upgrade.
terrible football team. So,
Yep. Agreed.
and
Agreed.
yeah, and I just want to point out that a thing that we both haven't done yet, pointed out, was Justin Fields. We acquired Justin Fields. I kind of remembered that as you were speaking. For a 6th-round draft choice, conditional 6th-round draft choice, could become a 4th. I think that's a good. I think they were trying to solidify the future, but did not pick up his 5th-year option, which was interesting.
That is interesting.
But I just wanted to point out that Russell Wilson fact to you fellas, because it sounds wrong, but it really isn't. But
no, that's good. I knew that he threw for more touchdowns than Lamar, but I didn't know that about Hurts. That's incredible.
Yeah, Hurts had 23 and 15. I mean, really off year from him. And I think Russell can still play. To put it bluntly and put it shortly, I mean, he can still play football, man. And this offense that he's getting into is going to suit his style. I think that Steelers could be a dangerous team. And then playing that ball controlling football that they want to play. If they come out and hit you in the mouth in the trenches and play that ball controlling type football like Tennessee did a few years ago, I think it'd be a dangerous team.
Yep.
But don't want to cut off CJ here. What are your thoughts here, CJ? Let me know what you feel about the Steelers
Alrighty.
draft off season and overall.
Alright, so my thoughts first. I want to go with the offseason first. I believe that Russell Wilson was an excellent pickup. I was really down on this at the beginning because I was like, I wanted them to get like Kirk Cousins or somebody like that. But for a borderline Super Bowl winning quarterback and Russell Wilson for league minimum, you would be crazy not to take a flyer out on him.
He is a Super Bowl champion.
And just like we said,
borderline Hall of Fame QB.
Yep.
Let's put it that like that.
Borderline Hall of Fame QB, yes. We'll throw out something too. I think Denver was a terrible ran organization. I really do. I think he got a bad end of the stick there. We brought up the 26 touchdowns, which is a big thing people bring up, but he only threw 8 interceptions last year, which is very, very low. So he's very efficient, and I think his system here in Pittsburgh fits him perfectly like it did in Seattle, whenever Seattle was really good. Under center, a lot of runs, a lot of play actions. I think he's going to really like throwing to George Pickens. I think he's going to like, there's a little bit of a hot take here, I think he's going to really like throwing to Darnell Washington too. I think he's going to get involved a lot with Russell Wilson. Start out. But with other moves too, Patrick Queen I think is the best thing too. I think that's an excellent pickup as well. Stealing him from our rivals and the Ravens, excellent pick. Top tier linebacker. You can't ask much more for that. With Dante Jackson, we got his corner. I think he's a good man-to-man corner. He's still really fast. I think he's still definitely serviceable, but I do think we need help there. And the Justin Fields pickup is very good to have a good QB battle there. I think it will definitely help us out. The wide receivers we picked up, like Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson,
I'm looking at the.
I think those are good.
Right now, I think depth chart. I see Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin. I don't know Calvin Austin.
I think they got a lot of good number 3s there. I think Pittsburgh's off season, I'll give them a 7.5. I think it was good.
Nice.
It wasn't great, but they did what. I think it was good, but it wasn't top tier, but it wasn't terrible. I think it was just good. They did what they needed to do. They got very valuable pieces. And I think they did a good job there. They always could be better, but it could have been a lot worse. I think they just did solid. So 7.5 for them. I do think Russell Wilson's very underrated for the signing they made. I was down too in the beginning on him too. I was very down until I thought about it. And now to the draft. I think the Steelers had a very excellent draft. I give their draft a 10 out of 10. Right off rip. And we got some fans in the audience there with the dogs.
Oh. Good.
Yeah, I think 10 out of 10. I think Fautanu is a very agile, great tackle they got. He's very skilled. I think McCormick's a very good run blocker. And my prediction is, before we get into this, just throw it out there, I think McCormick's going to be your starting guard, because I think James Daniels will be traded to the 49ers. But we will get into that a little bit. Very good run blocker, McCormick is. Very tough, that's what Steelers need. And I think the best pick the Steelers made, and this is hard for me to say as a Pitt Panthers fan, is Zach Frazier. Zach Frazier is an excellent pick for the Steelers. He is hard-nosed, tough, and I watched him in the preseason game. He was running downfield, blasting people, knocking them clear on their backs, running down, chasing people down, blocking, clear downfield. You can't ask much more out of a center. So the Steelers draft, I will give a 10 out of 10. Addressed everything they needed to address, and I think they are going to hit on mostly all those picks, and all very valuable picks.
Yeah, I mean, another pick we didn't really mention either, Ron Watts, the DB out of Texas. Another Corey Trice situation. I know the Steelers were insanely high on Corey Trice last year. They kind of try to find that guy every year, that athletic DB that they can move around. I know there was a lot of talks out of Pittsburgh last year that Corey Trice was going to start on this football team last year, out of camp, until he really got hurt his leg pretty bad. Ryan Watts, again, another situation where injuries kind of hurt him a little bit. The Steelers had a much higher grade on him in the 6th round. I'm looking at the depth chart right now for the Steelers, have him listed as 3rd safety. I know kind of out of 3rd strong safety. Let me be more clear on that. I know out of college he profiled more as a slot corner. He has a lot of size, a lot of athleticism. I'd look to see if they try to utilize him this year too.
I want to bring something up too here, D-Nick. I forgot to mention him too. Just one more thing on my end. I definitely think Roman Wilson's the closest thing that reminded me to Hines Ward so far. He's a very physical run blocker, and he has very good hands too. I'm very looking forward to what he does as well. Roman Wilson, excellent pickup.
I am as well. I think he profiles more of a slot guy in the NFL. I think you'll see him a lot in the 3 wide receiver packages that Arthur Smith throws out there this year. I mean, also we really didn't mention him in terms of off-season acquisitions. We kind of really focused on the players. Arthur Smith, I think, was, with the way the Steelers want to play, a really great offensive coordinator pickup. I know there was a lot of mixed reactions here in Southwest PA about when he was hired. Dude is a head coach in the NFL. I mean, I think that's enough said. I think he was an offensive coordinator on a Mike Vrabel team that went to an AFC Championship and damn near a Super Bowl. And I think
ended the Patriots dynasty. He was there.
The Patriots dynasty. And the last, gave Brady his last defeat as a Patriot. And then, yeah, I think that I think he just didn't have control over that Falcons team like he wanted. Didn't have the pieces to really fit his style of offense. I know a lot of people around here like, okay, you're going modern with the player acquisition. Why not go modern with the offensive mind? I think I'd rather have somebody that fits the mold. I think he fits the Steeler mold. I think he is elite. I'd rather have somebody elite at something rather than bringing somebody that might be elite in the West Coast style offense, maybe that doesn't fit the Steelers and what they're doing.
No, definitely he fits.
Elite run schemer.
He's definitely an elite coach for the offense. It's what the Steelers need. They need a run first team, and like I gotta bring this point up is he revived Ryan Tannehill's career. He gave him $100 million contract because he revived him.
And I think that's a big reason why Russell Wilson came here too. I think he's looking for that same revival.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's going to be really interesting. Um, or Jingle One. Not sure if you have any comments on that. I heard your dog's kind of going. I'm not sure if you're muted now, but
Can you guys hear me?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now you guys made good points. Arthur Smith does fit the mold. I think anything's better than that trash can we had before. So,
Yes, I concur. We're not even going to bring his name up because
no,
Yeah,
we're
be
just going to refer to it
careful.
as trash can.
And
trash can. But
like I said, with that line that they picked up in the draft and everything, and all the acquisitions they made, that they are going to have a solid team. It fits Arthur Smith's scheme, and I think he's going to be successful with them.
yeah, no, I do too. I think you're getting back to the Steelers mold here. And gentlemen, just to let you know, we're going a little bit over the half-hour mark. I think 10 o'clock is probably a good cutoff. It's 9:48 right now. I think we set 10 o'clock as a good hard cutoff for this first episode anyhow. Just
I
to let you
say,
guys time check.
gentlemen, let's transition now into what we've been waiting for a while here. Let's talk about the big news coming out of Pittsburgh now, the Brandon Ayuk situation. Gentlemen, take it away. You guys can talk first about this.
You want to start Jingle One? You want me to start again?
Go ahead, D-Nick. Take it away, buddy.
Oh,
Big news.
brother.
Uh-oh.
Oh, brother. Where do I start about this one? The 49ers have this has kind of been a rumor for most of the offseason here. I would say at least the back half of the offseason. Heavy rumors, no real concrete, no real kind of light to them. I think it was just a lot of whispers going on. I think that he kind of started to become available once the 49ers kind of determined that he was a little bit unsettled and they said, hey, we're not paying you. Then he got a little unsettled, and I think maybe his agent or people close to him started leaking these whispers. It just kind of started as that, and now fast forward to training camp, and now we're about 2 weeks in the training camp, going on 2 weeks in the training camp, or 3 weeks in the training camp, I believe, actually. Now these rumors are getting more than rumors. I mean, there's concrete talks going on, as reported by the big boys, Shefty, Rappaport. There's multiple teams in the tango, as you know, it's been last reported. The Steelers, I guess, as of 12 hours ago, via Rappaport, made their strongest offer to date. Rumored to be in the ballpark of James Daniels, the second and the fifth round pick. That's via Sports Illustrated. I'm reading that right now. I really wouldn't mind that. I'd say if the 49ers came back and said, okay, yeah, we'll accept that. James Daniels, the second and the fifth round pick. I think Omar Khan needs to shake on that, done, set, notched, walk away with no second feelings. No second thoughts. I think Ayuk is a legit receiver, and I can offer a little bit of a unique perspective because I was actually at the Steelers 49ers game last year, week 1 in Pittsburgh. That man can play football at an extremely high level. He was easily the best receiver I saw all day long. He looked better than Deebo Samuel. He looked better than any receiver the Steelers had on the field. That dude is a big human being. His size on paper doesn't really kind of bring out, doesn't really make your eye pop. But he just looks like a big human on the field. He can move swift. He has nice hands. I mean, this dude can be a number 1 receiver on 20 teams in the NFL easily. I think if it takes Daniels the second and the fifth to get it done, I think that the Steelers should be jumping for joy. I like James Daniels. I think he's a very solid NFL starting caliber guard. And he's in the prime of his career. I think 26 or 27 years old Daniels is. I was also seeing some other rumors. Not as much concrete, not as much validity behind them. Similar offers with I've seen the names Highsmith and Freiermuth kind of thrown into the fold. I can see a little bit more validity behind those, and then obviously I think the more out there ones, seeing names like Minka Fitzpatrick thrown around, I don't ever think the Steelers. I think that is impossible, 0% chance. I think when you talk about Muth, I think that's little. Oh, I think it definitely there. It is more likely than a Minka. I think Minka is about a 0. I think Muth probably about 5%. Highsmith, I think definitely more, maybe around the 40%. And then obviously, I think James Daniels makes the most sense for the 49ers to receive back because they need a starting caliber guard. Real quick, I think that Ayuk would make this team instantly better. I think Ayuk is a legit, as I said, number 1 receiver in the NFL. I think him across from George Pickens with Roman Wilson in the slot. I mean, even if you have to throw in Calvin Austin back to San Francisco in that trade, send him back. I don't really care. Calvin Austin's been extremely underwhelming in the few years of his NFL career here. He was talked up way more than what he was worth, what he's been worth so far. I think that if you send back Austin, Daniels, the second and the fifth, shake hands and be done. I've been seeing that the Browns are in this tango. I saw that the Browns have agreed to a trade for a second, fifth, and Amari Cooper, which is a much better return for the 49ers. But Ayuk said, screw the Browns, and rightly so. Fuck the Browns.
Screw the Browns.
Fuck the Browns. Excuse my language. Don't give a shit. Nasty ass barking hounds over there. I think Ayuk makes this football team. I think Ayuk makes this football team a legitimate playoff contender, and that's where I'm going to end my take. Legitimate playoff contender. I think you need to do what you need to do to get it done. Even if it takes Highsmith to get it done, you put him in the deal back. Because I think Ayuk is a legitimate number 1 receiver. I'd rather have Ayuk on 25 or 30 million a year than I would Highsmith on 17.
Yep.
And that's as simple as that. You got to do what you got to do. You don't give up any of your superstar caliber players to get him back. You give up a plethora of picks plus a nice starting caliber player. I mean, James Daniels is a sacrificial loss. Troy Fautanu can slot in a guard immediately. I know Jingle 2, you said McCormick. Yeah, I can see McCormick potentially getting a nod. I think if they trade Daniels, I think Fautanu slots in a guard right away. I think he starts week 1 at right guard, and that's how you fill that problem. Because he's 6'4", he profiles more as a guard anyhow. But simple as that. Get him in. That's it. Needs to be done.
Agreed. Lynch Mafia, you want to have your take now, then I'll kind of give my take and wrap it up, and then we can kind of put a bow on this thing?
Yeah, I'm just going to make this quick. I think definitely Ayuk makes him better. I think he is a premier number 1. I agree with that. I think George Pickens is a borderline first number 1 receiver, but I think he needs more help. So I think Ayuk's perfect. I do think the best scenario for the Steelers would be a second round pick they gave up in James Daniels, because my prediction is a little bit different from D-Nick. I think Mason McCormick will start guard and slide in there, and then they'll put Fautanu in a tackle because he's really agile, so they can give because he's a really good pass protector. So I think that's your best option there. I think definitely you should not give up Minka Fitzpatrick in any stretch of the imagination. Never, ever, ever do that. Calvin Austin has been underwhelming. Yeah, he's been hurt, but he really hasn't done much out there. But you gotta give him the benefit of the doubt. He had a trash can coordinator and 2 completely horrible dog shit loser quarterbacks in there, and Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky. But I do think you can send him back. So I think the perfect scenario to make so both sides win, and playing devil's advocate here to help out the 49ers as well, is I think Calvin Austin, James Daniels, and a second for Brandon Ayuk, and I think both teams win in the trade. I think both teams receive nice value back, and I think it really helps the Steelers out. And if Wilson starts week 1, I think that he's going to be dangerous with the run game as well. So that's wrap up my opinion on that. I think it'd be great for the Steelers. Long as
Another
Phoenix
name I
said,
kind of see rumored here is Van Jefferson going back. I know we just kind of picked him up, but supposedly Van Jefferson, from kind of whispers from local kind of radio that I listen to daily, has been saying that Van Jefferson is having an immaculate camp. Could actually be a real contributor to the team. And if you remember, he was a contributor to a Super Bowl,
Yes, he
not
was.
a Super Bowl winning team, but a Super Bowl appearing team. I think that year that the Rams went and played the Patriots, I believe Van Jefferson was on that team and actually had a
Him
solid year.
and Brandon Cooks, I think, were the main targets. Obviously, Todd Gurley was still there as well with Goff, but
Right.
yeah, he was definitely a big contributor. I tell you what, guys, to kind of wrap up and give my take here. Lynch Mafia there kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I was gonna start off by saying my kind of hot take, not semi-hot, mild take, was I don't think Pickens is a wide receiver one just yet. I think he's borderline, but I think Brandon Ayuk is a wide receiver one. He's worth the money. Trade for the man. Get him here. And honestly, I'm with D-Nick, and I think Lynch Mafia has the same thought process. We get Ayuk on the team, we're in business. We might be an actual contender. Like it could get real. I love the James Daniels deal. I think we have enough depth at offensive line. I agree with Lynch Mafia a little bit though. D-Nick on this one. I think Fautanu is I think he would do. I think can be a great guard or tackle, but I think he profiles more as a guard. In the NFL, I think he could just be an absolute all-pro guard. I think he can be a very good tackle as well, but I think he'd be an all-pro guard. I think we have enough depth there. We have McCormick. Obviously we have Fautanu. We have Herbig who can play guard in a pinch. I think Daniels, that's their trade to go with. Highsmith would be an option as well. But I think if you look at the 49ers too, if you look at the 49ers over the last, let's say, 3 years, and I think that's when they paid Deebo Samuel, was like 3 years ago, maybe 4. Deebo's been in and out of the lineup hurt. Kittle has had injury history. Obviously, CMC he's the spoon that stirs the drink for San Francisco. That Kyle Shanahan offense starts with the run, and usually he wants to end it with the run as well. So CMC is number one, but I think definitively, I know Deebo's a big name, Kittle's a big name, but Ayuk has been the second best player on that San Francisco offense by far. He's talented. He can block as well. He is by far the best route runner in San Francisco. And with McCaffrey, I think in the NFL, in my opinion, Brandon Ayuk is a top 6 to 7 route runner in the NFL right now. I think purely as a route running receiver, he's absolutely incredible. And I think this is a move the Steelers have to make. You make it now, get the deal done. He wants to play in Pittsburgh. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He's hard-nosed. He loves to compete. Each of the Super Bowls that Ayuk's played in, he's been incredible. Especially this last one, he was really, really good. The Chiefs they had a hard time guarding him. Deebo Samuel was locked up. Kittle was kind of locked up. CMC did his thing. But this guy's a baller. I'd love to have him. And, gentlemen, I think we are at the end of episode 1.
Let's wrap it up. Some final
closing
things.
remarks?
Yeah, real quick, just to comment on what you said about Kittle and the injury history. I'm reading this piece now. I mean, it's not really from a credible source, but that's why Muth has been rumored to go back. Since San Fran wants to reportedly integrate more 2 tight end sets, I think it'd be really interesting if Muth gets sent back. And honestly, I really wouldn't mind it. I think he's expendable. I think he's replaceable. Also, he needs paid as well. You got to keep that in mind here soon. But no, closing remarks real quick. Just want to ask you fellas real quick. I mean, this isn't. I don't gotta go real in depth with this CeeDee Lamb situation. CeeDee Lamb.
The Cowboys are. If you don't mind, I'll lead off on this one, Lynch Mafia.
To the Steelers? Question mark. That's kind of like what I.
Oh no! I don't think it'll ever happen.
No, they can't afford him, unfortunately.
I think Lamb's gonna want to break the bank. I think Ayuk is more of a Pittsburgh type player than Lamb.
Yes,
You know,
he is.
if you look at Pittsburgh receivers over the years, um, CeeDee's not a huge guy. I know obviously we had, Antonio Brown's kind of the outlier with the big personality. Even I mean, obviously his talent was incredible. I think in Ayuk's a Pittsburgh Steelers receiver. You know, he likes to block. He can make plays. He's an incredible route runner. Kind of reminds me, honestly, the way he runs routes kind of reminds me of a little bit of Hines Ward. Maybe not as good at blocking, but he can definitely block. He's a competitor. I think Lamb's a little bit rich for our blood. The Cowboys have a huge conundrum on their hands with all the guys they have to pay. So, haha, screw you, Dallas. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, I don't think Lamb to Pittsburgh is a realistic option. I mean, love to have him, but I don't think it's realistic.
No, I don't think it's an option either. He's going to be wanting way too much money. I don't think the Steelers will afford him. I think Ayuk would more so want to play with the Steelers as well, more than Lamb. Lamb's looking for a big paycheck, and I think Brandon Ayuk wants to come to Pittsburgh because he just loves it here. And I generally think he wants to play under Coach Tomlin, and I think this is the city he's always want to play in. He wants to be hard nosed. He knows that's what Steelers are all about. So I think I'd rather have Brandon Ayuk than CeeDee Lamb.
Super quick question for you guys to end this off, though, just to kind of elaborate. And it's kind of a question that just kind of popped into my mind, and we can be quick with it because we're kind of extending this a little longer than we wanted to. If the Steelers cannot get their hands on Ayuk, whatever the Browns finally whatever the reason, the Browns finally get him to negotiate an extension, etc. Who's the next best realistic option for the Steelers? I mean, that they need a receiver. They cannot go into a receiver into this next upcoming season without making some sort of acquisition at receiver. I mean, that's the glaring hole of this football team.
Go ahead, Lynch Mafia.
I think what has to happen, D-Nick, and if it doesn't happen, I think one of the rookies is going to have to step up then. Not rookie. Roman Wilson's probably going to have to step up and be a number 2 then. We're going to have to hope somebody. I don't think anybody else is really out there to be a true number 2 or borderline number 1 to help George Pickens. So I think we're going to have to hope one of our rookies pans out. Roman Wilson, Van Jefferson, Van Jefferson, a veteran guy, maybe one of the veterans step up, but we're going to have to get someone on the roster to step up. I think if you can get a reasonable deal done, you should absolutely go after Ayuk, 1,000%. I think Ayuk's a must within reason. And that's
Lynch Mafia 1. I'm going to give my answer after the fact.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think the Ayuk thing falls through. This is my personal belief. I think they will probably roll with Jefferson and then Roman Wilson as the 3 in the slot. But we all know that usually towards the end of training camp, and especially now with the preseason being cut a little bit short, usually towards the start of the regular season, there's a lot of cuts and guys that you don't expect to be cut. So if they don't have the Ayuk deal, expect the Steelers to potentially be in the market for maybe one of those veteran receivers that could potentially be cut. Guys, I'm kind of thinking off the top of my head here. Kind of thinking guys like like a Robert Woods potentially, or
I still think he fits in that same Robert Woods, for example. But here's a name that came to my head here, and you guys, I've been seeing things that he hasn't really been having a great camp, and they have not much invested in him, and he's making a lot of money on his current team. Keenan Allen.
My thoughts on that.
That's just kind of a name to throw out there. What if he gets cut? Do you think the Steelers would go in for him?
I don't think he will get cut, D-Nick, just because Caleb Williams needs a veteran receiver out there like Keenan Allen that can perform at a high level. So I definitely think the Bears will hold on to him.
Hey, if Allen's cut, I'll take him.
Oh, I'll take him, definitely. No, I agree. If he's cut, we'll take him.
His route running, we need a good route runner.
Realistic standpoint of he's making $18 million, or even more than that. If he's not cutting the mustard, they have no investment in him. What, a 7th or a 6th round freaking pick? They really have no investment in him at all. I can see him, that sort of guy, being available. I think my answer, number 1, I think would obviously, this is the situation with not getting Ayuk, right? I think obviously monitor the cut situation I think number two, a guy, well, he obviously probably is not as familiar with the system as now. Um, Maybe could look for a little career revitalization if he comes in for a super cheap deal. Juju Smith-Schuster. He is also available right now. I wouldn't mind them bringing him in to try to compete for a roster spot. He knows the system. He was liked here. I don't think he's the player he once was. Maybe he could rekindle a little something. Or another name that was kind of rumored throughout the offseason pretty heavily for if you can get him for a day 3 pick, I think that's kind of really kind of solid acquisition is Cortland Sutton. A guy like that. I think those are their top options they got to kind of go for if they don't pick up on it. I don't think I'm looking at the Steelers depth chart right now, and they have Pickens, Jefferson, Austin listed as 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6 would be Watkins, Desford Fitzpatrick, and Roman Wilson. They have Scotty Miller listed as their third slot receiver. That's kind of just what I'm looking at right here.
Huh.
Other guys aren't going to make the roster. So, yeah, we can kind of put a. I just kind of wanted to throw that idea by you, like who do you think that they would kind of acquire, if, for example, they don't get an IU deal done.
If I can add just real quick, D-Nick,
Yeah,
then
sure.
you can land us, or whoever can kind of land this thing. I think the Steelers, if they're going to get a receiver, I want a route runner. George Pickens is he is really talented, but I think what Pickens needs to focus on this year, and I hope that he can really take the next level, get to the next level, is his route running. I think he needs to work on his separation a little bit because he's a very physical receiver. He likes to play one-on-one ball. He can just make acrobatic catches. His hands are incredible. His athleticism is off the charts. But I think if we're going to get a receiver, that's why I think IU fits the mold perfectly. We need a route runner. We need somebody that when it's 3rd and 8 and you need 12 yards or 13 yards, or you can get somebody on an in cut up the middle and somebody's going to get open. I know Pickens has good speed too, but if we can just get that good solid route runner, I'm hoping Roman Wilson can develop into that. I think we'll be in good shape. So that's why I was really hoping. This is selfish. He's a PA boy, and this is my last comment. I was selfishly hoping we would have got Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd I think would have been a good number 2 for us, but
too.
it is what it is, as they say. So
He played around too long. Reportedly, the Steelers put a 2-year deal in front of him, and he wanted to keep testing the market. Ended up accepting a 1-year deal on more annual with the Titans.
yep.
Instead of that 2-year kind of spread out deal with the Steelers. That was his choice, obviously. He thought he was worth more money, took a gamble. Gamble got him a 1-year deal more annually, but that's besides the point. Well, it was good talking some Steelers. Real quick to wrap this thing up. I know we wanted to say a quick thing about fantasy, and we'll make this real quick. All three of us, real quick, to end the episode, just kind of do a quick turnaround. We're all fantasy football advocates, and that's that time of year. Who are your top 3 fantasy? If you have picks 1, 2, or if you have picks 1 through 3 or whatever, who are your top 3 fantasy picks this year? I mean, I can obviously know who number 1 is, but number 3 is where it gets interesting. Or how about I answer the question like this, or ask the question like this: not named Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill. Who are your top 3 fantasy guys this year?
I'll go first.
Not named Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill.
Justin Jefferson. Probably number 1. Jamar Chase. And Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry's going to be back in Baltimore this year.
Ooh, Derrick Henry. That's an
interesting. All right.
He's going to be dangerous in Baltimore.
For fantasy, my top 3 not named Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill. It's a tough one. I'm going to go Bijan Robinson.
Oh, okay.
Breece Hall.
Oh, all right. I like that too.
And this is a tough one. I'm sorry, Jamar Chase, you're in audible mention. I'm sorry, Jefferson, your audible mention. I just don't know who's going to throw you the ball. I'm going to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh, stole of my thunder there.
I love Amon Ra, man.
Some of my
He's.
thunder
I know that's your
there.
boy. We'll eventually maybe talk about our
Yeah, next
history of playing
episode.
Madden franchise or something. That's one of your
Yeah.
boys, and I know fantasy football. I love Amon Ra, man. I think he's one of the most talented receivers in the NFL, and I love his game.
My top three outside of McCaffrey and Hill. Amon Ra, you stole my thunder there. He's definitely there. And then, man, this is tough. If CD plays, give me CD.
Ooh, like that. I like CD too.
Amon Ra, CD, and this one's gonna shock you a little bit. Give me Saquon Barkley in a Philadelphia Eagles
Oh,
uniform this year.
I agree with you, D-Nick. I think he's gonna be really, really good. He did cross my mind. Saquon is, without being long-winded, Saquon's the most talented college running back I've ever seen. This is the best team by far he's ever played on. I think he's gonna be electric this year. That's a good pick.
That is a good pick. All right, gentlemen,
But
to finish
anyhow.
up here, we're going to wrap up. I'm just going to
do
get
it.
some closing thoughts. I'm going to start first. So, I think the offseason, I did 7.5. Best player he picked up, in my opinion, is Wilson. And Queen draft, I think, was a 10 out of 10. Best player I think they got, Zach Frazier. And I think the player who's very underwhelmed last year, I think will have a big impact this year, is Darnell Washington. And that wraps up my thoughts about it. Just giving some closing remarks here. Anybody else can go
Heck
up. That's
yeah.
it for me.
I'm gonna give you a quick one. Really, really, really quick take. If the Steelers get Brandon Ayuk, the Steelers are going to win between 11 to 13 football games this year.
Okay.
If the Steelers do not get Brandon Ayuk, the Steelers, I believe, will win between 7 to 11, potentially, on the optimistic side of football games. But I believe Russell Wilson, and I am a Russell fan, I think Russell Wilson can do the job. He can do the job well. If he plays effectively, and he plays like he knows how to play, and they play in that Arthur Smith offense, kind of resemble what they did in Seattle, the Steelers can be a playoff team. With Ayuk, I think they can be a true playoff contender if they are healthy. That's the key.
Yeah,
That's
I,
it for
I
me.
kind of agree with what you said there. I think Russell Wilson will throw 33 touchdowns and throw 13 interceptions.
Ooh, well, that'd be a great year.
Um,
Oh man, I'd be happy with that.
33 and 13 is my Russell prediction.
Be a great year.
I think, like you said, Ayuk makes that team a potential 13 win and division champion team and a
Yep.
playoff winner. I really think they can push to an AFC championship if they get Ayuk. I really do. I think that from the bottom of my heart.
Yep.
Without him, I still think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll, like they have been the past few years, they'll squeak in,
Yep.
like a 6 or 7. That's my thoughts on the Steelers and on the fantasy picks. I like them. Pretty interesting picks.
Heck yeah.
I, you know, lots out of the box kind of Lynch number 2. You kind of went with the safe picks, but I liked them. Lynch 1. You went with a couple out of boxers that I liked, and I was
Yep.
kind of a mix.
Mhm.
But yeah, that wraps up episode 1. Appreciate anybody who listens.
Heck yeah.
Hope everybody has a blessed night. Kind of went a little longer than we intended. I mean, we said a half hour. We knew we weren't going to be a half hour. I don't know why we even try.
We tried.
Yeah, stay tuned next week. Hopefully, we're talking about a Brandon Ayuk deal being fucking done.
Heck yeah, baby.
Hope
Good
so.
night, everybody. Have a good
about.
night. Have a safe night.
Like,
Yep.
subscribe, do all that good stuff.
More
Take care,
content
everybody.
coming, baby. Consistency from the Steel City boys.